Hi folks, this is your NWIS Winter Planner updated on Friday the 1st of March. As far as statistics are concerned, it's the start of meteorological spring, but for the mountains, as we know, it's still a month that can produce some very wintry conditions. Temperatures in the week ahead will be on the chilly side, although will lift somewhat compared to the cold days we have just at the moment this weekend. This is the pressure pattern that will prevail over the 7-day period for the week ahead. We've got a zone of low pressure that will exist toward the southwest of the British Isles and high pressure around Scandinavia, and those will just kind of slowly meander around in position, meaning that our wind flow prevails as a southeasterly in the days ahead. In the short term, we do have a slow-moving circulating area of low pressure this weekend. Some snow flurries drifting around slowly, pulling westwards across the Highlands during Saturday morning. Another cluster across the Peak District into the South Pennines may just give some more persistent snowfall across the hills, some rain and sleet at lower elevations through the daytime on Saturday. Some further snow flurries coming into the Eastern Highlands, most likely through the afternoon, circulating in from the east. That feature over northern England pushing into the Lake District later in the afternoon and evening to give some further snowfalls across the fells here, and that zone as well continuing to push its way north into Scotland overnight into Sunday, and that could give some further accumulations over the mountains with snow to quite low levels. This going forwards in 3-hour time steps through to dawn on Sunday shows that pulling away gradually northwards. For Sunday daytime, we're then left with a story of mostly dry and bright conditions, 1 or 2 local showers and flurries with some cloud banks around, but also some sunshine and the wind speeds typically fairly light. As Sunday transitions into Monday, we've got a weak ridge of high pressure just moving across the country, which leads to a clear and frosty start to Monday morning for many. We've got a low pressure system and some fronts moving into the far southwest of Britain and Ireland, and that will try and make progress in during the day with strengthening southeasterly winds soonest into Wales, up to gale force across the mountains here, and those wind speeds will strengthen quite widely through the day, although for many it's a dry picture during Monday, some sunshine, some well-broken cloud, and maybe just that risk of some rain and hill snow encroaching further into southwest Scotland, northern England by Monday evening, but the daytime itself should well stay dry. Wales, though, does turn wetter. The freezing level this weekend will be typically around 600 to 800 metres, in a few spots a bit lower where some snow is around, and some frost in the valleys and the glens as well. By Monday shown here around 800 metres or so, and that value just lifting somewhat day on day into midweek, so by Tuesday at 800 to 1,000 metres typically across the country, and maybe a bit higher than that late Tuesday into Wednesday. A degree of uncertainty through the second half of the week, just whether we do draw in some colder air from Scandinavia. The model chart here indicating those at lower freezing levels over the North Sea trying to pull their way into Scotland from the east. That may just give a lower freezing level for a time in the second half of the week, but I think the general message from most forecast models later in the week would put us still somewhere between 800 and 1,000 metres, so higher mountains near or just below freezing point, but it doesn't look to be anything too significantly cold in that immediate forecast. We do have some fresh snow on the ground, and that will be topping up through Friday night into Saturday across the Highlands. Not colossal amounts, but enough just to give a fresh dusting and icy surfaces to be aware of, all the way from Wales to northern England to Scotland, seeing some fresh snow coverage over the high ground. That will vary a little bit through this weekend. There may be some further flurries that give slight accumulations at times. Things will just start to diminish a little bit on middle terrain as we head through into the start of the new week. So the high tops keeping some snow, just some thawing on those lower and middle elevations where any recent snow has fallen. Keeping the snow and the icy conditions, though, on those high tops most likely for most of this week ahead. The considerable lying snow shown on the model is mostly focused across Scotland. It's back to a dusting on the highest tops in England and Wales at most. It does look like we're moving towards a drier weather situation, though, as this week progresses, as high pressure around Scandinavia starts to build towards us. Some dregs of rain and hill snow and drizzle and low cloud around Tuesday and Wednesday, as the leftovers of previous fronts just circulate around the low over the Atlantic. The airflow then, as mentioned earlier, is south to southeasterly through this time, and if anything, as the week goes on, that turns more towards an east-southeasterly and drawing the source of the air then from Scandinavia and Eastern Europe. So a drier air mass moving towards us. It could draw in some low cloud from the North Sea, though, onto our eastern hills at times through the second half of the week. Western parts doing best overall. And that easterly wind could well strengthen as we head toward the end of the week. That brings the risk of quite gusty conditions, even gale force easterlies, mainly over Wales, possibly England, and into the southernmost hills of Scotland, the greatest risk of that stronger easterly wind. And that's likely to prevail as that easterly flow through next weekend as a whole. Some occasional small amounts of rain and snow flurries on eastern hills, many western parts, especially western Scotland, looking dry overall. Most indications favour that easterly regime continuing further into the middle of the month. High pressure to the north, low pressure away to the south and southwest. Some occasional frontal systems might circulate into Wales from the south, but further north more often under the influence of the high, so keeping things drier. Western Scotland could well see a sustained dry spell onward through mid-March. Although uncertain, just the hint at the middle part of the month that we're drawing in a colder air mass over Scandinavia from the north and over the Baltic, and that could well then get drawn back westwards in the flow across the North Sea into Britain as well, with high pressure retreating towards Greenland and the source of the air then from Scandinavia and the Arctic being drawn across us on a northeasterly wind. It's not set in stone that that's exactly how the sequence goes, but there's the indication of keeping some cold and wintry patterns in the story a long way through the middle of the month, so that could well provide us with a late season boost to winter activities. As always, we shall watch those developments in the weeks ahead. That is your Winter Planner for today. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.